I'm with the Evansville Wartime Museum, and I am here today with Ruby Carroll. And Ruby was a Rosie the Riveter at Servel, and she is going to tell us today about her experiences. Ruby, can you tell us your full name and when and where you were born?
Ruby Marvine Stevenson Carroll. I was born in Vendetta, Kentucky, which is halfway between Hanson and Joe City. It consisted of a Methodist church, a convenience store with one gas station. The convenience store also served as a post office, and the lady that ran it lived in the back of the store. And then it had a 2-room schoolhouse. But
So the school, was it divided into like younger kids and older kids?
right, one year they'd have the even number classes, and then the next year it'd be the odd number of classes.
Gotcha. So then, what year did you graduate from high school?
In 1944,
Okay. And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 3 brothers and 2 sisters.
All right. So growing up during the Depression, I imagine you guys had some hard times.
We did. We lived in Evansville the first 5 years after I was born. Daddy worked for the railroad. And then the Depression hit, and with, at that time, 5 kids to feed. And I had a great aunt that lived across the street that had inherited a farm from her father. And she had a farm in Kentucky, and she told us that we could move in there on her farm. So we lived on her farm for several years.
So then, when you graduated from high school, the World War II was going on, correct?
Right.
And tell us about your brothers that were in the war.
Well, the oldest boy was he joined the Navy. And he was on a ship, a destroyer. And they were in the Philippines and going down at night on the Sargo Strait and ran into a Japanese fleet. And a Japanese shell hit their rudder, so they couldn't guide their ship. So the shells were hitting from both sides. And the Japanese got scared and ran. And the shells that was hitting the destroyer was killing their own men. So they broke silence and told them to stop, ceasefire, they're killing their own men. And then they thought that they had sank the ship. So they went off and left it. And it drifted for 3 days. And a typhoon hit them and carried them a ways, and President Kennedy's PT boat ran into them on a Sunday afternoon and hooked onto them and pulled them into Lady. And they buried the dead there. Most of them. Some of them was buried at sea. And practically all of the men on the board ship was killed. And my brother was buried on Lady, and then my uncle, by marriage, helped dig his body up to send it back to the States. And so he is buried at Sasser's Grove Cemetery at between Seabury and Aunton.
And then you had another brother in Europe, correct?
And a brother in Europe. He was in France, and he was a message carrier between the lines. And a sharpshooter was shooting at him every time he went across this field. But there was a big haystack out in the middle of it. So he would run crooked till he got to the haystack, and then he'd lay and rest, and then he'd run the rest of the way to his destination. And he said that when he got hit, he knew before he got hit that he was going to get hit. He said that premonition tells you what's going to happen.
Wow.
So he was sent to England to a hospital, and he was the youngest boy there. And the nurses saved their sugar rations to bake him a birthday cake.
Wow.
He thought that was great.
Yeah. So then when you graduated high school and the war's going on, and Evansville's not too far away, tell us about how you came to work in one of the war industries, and tell us where you went to work and when.
I graduated one week and I came to Evansville the next, and I went down to the employment office, and they sent me to Servel. And they first started me out ironing skins to get the burrs off. And then they had a girl that was running a riveting machine that riveted the framework to the tank adapter. And she's only putting in one rivet at a time, and then it'd crack or split, and she'd have to drill it out and put another one, bigger one in. So but they came to me then and asked me if I would do that job. And so they brought another machine in and put me on it. And as soon as I picked it up and started working, the two pieces that fit overlapped had either 17 or 19 rivets, all the same size. So I put in all the rivets. And then I couldn't turn it over, they'd fall out. So I hollered for the group leader, which was Pete Peters, and he come over and wanted to know what I needed. I said, I need a roll of masking tape. He says, what do you want this masking tape for? I said, you get it and I'll show you. So he went and got me a roll of masking tape. I pulled off a strip of masking tape and put over those rivets. Then I could flip it over and run it through the machine. And none of them ever cracked or split.
Cool. So did they give you any recognition for coming up with that idea?
No.
No. Well, they should have given you an award for that.
They didn't get time for that.
Yeah, that's probably true.
But
So the job you did, you didn't have a bucker. You had a machine
yeah,
that riveted.
yeah. But I had rivets for about a half an inch up to a 2.5 inch icebox rivet
Wow.
in making that framework for that tank adapter.
Mm-hmm. And that was what held the external fuel tank under the wing?
The bombs or the fuel tanks,
Yeah.
or whatever they needed to deliver to the guys.
Gotcha. So, in working in the war plant, do you remember the attitude? Was the attitude in the plant among the workers?
It was good.
And they all knew they had a real purpose, and they
Right.
were working towards that.
Yeah.
And then, another benefit you talked about growing up during the Depression. I mean, having jobs and money was
Right.
a new thing for a lot of people.
Right.
So, where did you live when you were working at Servel?
After I lived at Servel,
No, where did you live while you were working there?
oh, I lived with my grandmother and aunt on Judson Street.
And did you walk to work or take the bus?
I took the bus until some of the girls, a fellow was picking them up, and they could pick me up, so they'd pick me up and take me to work every day.
Gotcha.
But I rode home on the bus.
Mm-hmm. Now, while you were working, you were still a teenager when you started working there, and you weren't married at the time, correct?
Right.
Did you ever go to any of the dance spots like the USO when they had the dances and
yes.
things?
Yes.
Did they take you there as a group on a bus from Servel, or did you just go on your
No,
own?
you went on your own, but you had to have your name tag on to show that you worked in a factory.
Gotcha. I've read and seen pictures that there were sometimes as many as 10,000 soldiers in Evansville on the weekends with Camp Breckenridge.
It was full. They was sleeping on the ground in the park, so close together they was almost touching.
Wow.
Sunset Park especially was every weekend, and sometimes through the week.
Right. Now, like when you went downtown during that time period, I imagine it was just the town was just hopping. I mean, it was probably crowded all the time, right?
It's what?
Downtown streets, like Main Street and the streets downtown, I imagine they were very busy.
They was full all night long as soldiers walking. Nothing else to do.
Yeah.
They was walking around.
Do you remember dealing with rationing? Like having to get your ration books?
Oh yeah.
And,
A lot of things was rationed.
yeah.
Sugar and coffee. It was the two special ones.
Yeah.
And meat. And then different ones, like young girls like me didn't drink coffee, and so we'd give our coffee rations to other members of the family. And same way with meat and a lot of other things.
Going back to Servel for a minute, how long would it take you to attach, like one attachment, one bomb attachment to a wing? How long would that take you to do one, and then before you move to the next one? Or how many would you do during a shift, do you think?
Oh, yeah, during the shift? Oh. Well, you had a right and a left. And you'd have about, well, when I first started out, that girl was 3 days behind. And by having that tape, I got caught up in about a day and a half
Wow.
of what my own work besides catching up on hers.
Right. Well, you were moving on then.
Right.
Yeah. Do you remember ever seeing any of those planes fly over the city when they were testing them? I know they used to test the P-47s
Yeah.
before they sent them off. Do you
I
ever
never
remember
did.
seeing any of them
I
fly?
never did remember seeing any of them.
You know, the plane you worked on was one of the best planes in the Army Air Corps. It
Yes,
was,
I do.
it-
They were. They were all made in different parts. Riggs made one part of the wing. Servel was making the tank adapters. When all the parts got done, then they were all taken out to the airport to
Republic.
plan out there, and that's where they were put together as a plane and tested out there.
You know, you were working and doing a big part because, like we said, and you know, that plane was very important in our war effort. Were you working on VE Day when the war ended in Europe? Do you remember that?
No, I had broken my nose when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and it grew, the bone grew crooked and closed off of the passage to my inner nose. And working out there in the factory, that metal dust and everything started it acting up. So I had nose surgery that day before D-Day.
Okay.
And I was in a lot of pain and misery while everybody else was out in the streets having a celebration.
Well, the timing didn't work out for you on that one.
No, it didn't.
But I'm sure you felt, like all of them, a sense of relief and joy that the war was over.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, you did something that women hadn't been allowed to do prior to World War II, working in an industry that it was mostly men.
Right.
So you broke down some barriers.
Yeah. My aunt worked at Servel on those refrigerators before the war.
Okay. One more question about Servel. Did you usually take your lunch with you, or did you eat? They had a cafeteria there, I was told, or did you eat in the cafeteria?
I don't remember a cafeteria, but there was a tavern outside the gate, and they served hot lunches. They had a dining room.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people from Servel went there to eat.
Gotcha. So, how long did you work there once the war ended? Did your employment stop immediately, or did you work a while after the war ended?
It stopped immediately.
Okay. So, did you stay in Evansville after that?
Yeah, but there was no jobs. I went, I signed up 11 weeks for unemployment and never got a check.
Wow.
And the day I went to work at the dime store, I got my first check, and I never got any more.
So they held off till you got a job, and then it was too late. Which dime store did you work in?
I worked at the Woolworth dime store, and I also worked a short time at, what is that? It started with an N. Meissner's.
Yes. I remember those from when I was a
But
kid.
when the boss told me I had to come to work even though I was sick, That's when I walked out the door. I went down the street, went to work the very next day at Shears department store. And I worked there until I guess when I married her dad,
And what year was that?
1947,
Okay.
February of 1947.
Tell us about your life then after the war. You got married in 1947 and then,
Then he made the Air Force a career,
okay.
and I moved with him wherever he was sent. Right at 6 months after we was married, he was shipped to Guam,
Mhm.
and so I moved back home. We were at Laurie Air Force Base and at Denver at the time he was sent to.
Did he start off in the Army Air Corps during World War II and then transition when it became the Air Force?
He was an orphan. And when he graduated from high school, he joined the Air Force, or it was Army Air Force then. And he was, from the time he was 18, he was in the Air Force.
What did he do in the Air Force?
He was, back then men didn't take business courses hardly. And he took a business course in school and knew how to type. And back then they didn't have the wax and the waves and all that. And so he had to do the typing
Gotcha.
and all. And during the war, he was on the boat four times. Every time they'd find out he was typed, and they'd take him off the boat and put him behind the desk.
Mm-hmm.
So he never did go over during the war.
Mm-hmm.
But then they sent him after the war was over to Guam. And then when he come back from Guam, he was sent to, I believe this Cleveland, Ohio. The government had a big warehouse next to the airport in Cleveland, and they had 100 men stationed up there to hold that plant for the government. And then from there, they sent us to New York. They opened up the Eastern Air Command up there, and he called me up. I was working at Sears, and he called me up at noon, and he said, "Go home, start packing. We have to be in New York at 7 o'clock Monday morning."
Wow.
And so I did it. And we drove in on the base at 7 o'clock on Monday morning.
Now, did you have children during this time when you were doing all this moving?
No, in New York, we were 18 miles from West Point. And I think we had been in New York about 2 or 3 years. Anyway, my son was born at West Point. And then when he was 2 and a half, ago, that other war broke out, and they sent him to Japan. And so while he was in Japan, well, me and the baby moved back home again. And then when he come home that time, we went to Cheyenne, Wyoming. And by that time, my son was 5 years old, or 4 or 5. Anyway, she was born in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Shepherd Air Force Base.
He wrote me a letter and told me he wanted to place an order for a red-headed daughter when he got home.
He got his wish.
So he got his red-headed daughter.
So is there anything that,
And after that, where'd you get transferred after that?
where'd you go after Wyoming?
Texas. And he retired from Texas.
Okay. So,
That was, Cheyenne was Warren Air Force Base. Texas was Shepherd Air Force Base.
so you lived a lot of different places and had quite an experience.
We did. I like, a lot of wives left their husbands because they couldn't leave mama.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked moving around and meeting new people and new customs. People are different in any state you go to. They got different customs and
Right.
everything.
When I'm going to jump back to the war a little bit. When you were working in the plant, you know, you had money for the first time in a while. People had money in their pockets. Did you save money, or did you splurge on anything for yourself at that time, or?
No, only what I needed.
Yeah. And you think that's because that's the way people had been used to doing? You know, you were kind of leery that you might not have it again.
Yeah, you saved what you could.
Yeah.
But the wages wasn't very high back then either. I was looking at W-2 forms one time, and that one year I only made $1,000.
Wow. Yeah, I've got some of my grandfather's pay stubs from the coal mine
Yeah,
during the war period, and he was making like $42 a week.
yeah.
Do you remember, like when you would pick up your paycheck, would they have the war bond table set up there, trying to sell you war bonds when you came out?
No,
You remember that? No.
no, I don't remember that.
And I'm going to jump back to the USO. When you went down there, did they have like the big bands playing, or was it recorded music, or did they have live bands?
Yeah, they had live bands. Usually they were GIs.
Oh, okay. You know, you did things that kind of changed the world. You were involved in some pretty important things in your lifetime. If you looked at young people today, let's say young women today that have to make decisions about life, would you have any advice that you would give them?
Well, I always had a job. I never, because it didn't pay what I wanted, that didn't mean I didn't need a job. So I'd always get a job wherever we went. I worked at a lot of different jobs. I worked in a sandwich factory. Back then they didn't have restaurants and things like they do now. And they sold sandwiches on the trains and in the drugstores and places like that for people to buy their lunch. And so we would go in at around 4 o'clock in the morning, and then we'd quit work about 9 o'clock after we got our sandwiches all made. I made all kinds of sandwiches.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And I worked in the restaurants. I worked a lot of different places.
Mm-hmm.
You may ask her about her third brother, the one that was a cook. And what kind of prison? This is the first time I heard that.
Which one?
The last one,
Oh, the one that was in Korea.
the one that was, yeah.
Okay.
Was a cook.
Tell-
And what kind of prison?
Yeah, you said your youngest brother was in the Korean War, correct?
Right.
And can you tell us about him and his experiences?
Well, he always wanted to be a mechanic and liked working on cars. And when they drafted him, they put him as a cook in the mess hall. And he said one day he walked in and the guys were supposedly making dumplings, chicken and dumplings. He said they were just taking a spoon and dropping it in. He said, "Get away from there, that's no way to make dumplings." He said, "I'll show you how to make dumplings the way my mama did." So he started making dumplings. Well, the officers, one or two officers was in there and had his dumplings. And they tried to get him, they had to try to get him out of there into their mess hall. But he didn't go to their mess hall. And then when he was sent to overseas, they put him in as the cook in the prisoner of war camp. And while he was over there, he got ulcers so bad that when he got back home, all he could have to eat is pure cream.
Wow.
I can't imagine drinking pure cream.
Mm-hmm. So,
It cured his ulcer.
that's good. And I guess they knew what they were doing when they told him that.
Yeah.
So you say he was the cook at the POW camp. So this was for North Korean POWs?
Mhm.
Before do you know, did they keep them there or did they ship them to the United States eventually?
He didn't say anything about him bringing any of them to the United States.
Gotcha. Well, that had to be an interesting job.
I bet it did.
Yeah. Anything else I'm missing?
Nothing I'm not aware. Oh, other than she at one time when she was riveting was going to go on to be a welder.
Huh.
There was chance for advancement,
Gotcha.
but I don't know. She never did complete that.
Gotcha.
I
So-
don't think she remembers why.
Did they talk about making a welder out of you at one time when you were working at Servel?
No, what it was, me and Marge Harrison, a friend, they worked there with me. We found out that if you learn to weld, if you could weld it on their gas lines, you made a lot more money. So we were going out to mechanical arts school, taking welding to learn how to weld so we'd get a higher wage.
Gotcha.
But the war got over before we got through with school.
Gotcha. So you were working at Servel one shift and then going to school when you
Yeah.
weren't working.
Yeah, after work we'd go out to mechanical arts school.
Gotcha. Interesting. Was there anything else that I missed that you might want to tell us, or any other experiences?
On our way home from mechanical arts school one night, we had to change buses down at 3rd and Main, and while we were waiting for the bus, well, Marge says, "Why don't we go get a beer?" So we walked down to that little bar at the corner of Locust and, what is it, 3rd or 4th and Locust.
Mm-hmm.
And it was wasn't any bigger than this room. And we walked in, I had a welding glove in each pocket and a pair of pliers in my hand, my hair tied up in a bandana. And when we got in there wasn't any tables, so we was going down back to the restroom and clean ourselves up a little. And when we got at the end of the bar, Herman jumped off the stool and jumped out in front of me and wanted to know where I was going. And I told him, and he said, "Well, when you come out, I'll have a table waiting for you." Well, when we come out, there wasn't any tables. And he said, "Well, let's go dancing." I said, "There's no place to dance other than a place about the size of a postage stamp. And all you can do is stand there and wiggle." He said, "Well, I've got my brother's car. We can go out to Green River Gardens." So that the foreman that worked with us had been wanting Marge to go out with him. And so he was talking to Marge, and Herman was talking to me, and we had ran into my aunt that I lived with when we was in the restroom. And so Herman had a classmate that grew up with him. He said, Tommy will come with us." And so the 6 of us piled in his brother's car and went out to Green River Gardens. And that's how I got started.
Yeah. That's a good story. Did you ever go over to the Trocadero? That was over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I heard that was a pretty busy place.
Yeah. It was a nice place. They had, when you first went in, there was I think that's where they had the restaurant part. And anyway, on the 2nd floor was the gambling. And the ones that wanted to gamble always went upstairs. So you never saw anybody gambling.
Well, Ruby, is there anything else you want to tell us?
Yeah. I don't know. I think. I guess that's it.
Okay, well,
Did she say anything to the current military?
yeah, you know, right now we've got a lot of young people in the military, and we've got a war going on right now. What would you like to say to anything to those young people today?
behave themselves. Don't get into trouble.
Good advice. Well, Ruby, I sure thank you today, and it's been a real honor to get to talk with you and to hear your experiences. And you are a real American hero. I want you to know that. The things that
Thank
you
you.
did during your lifetime helped this country keep its freedom.
Yeah.
And we all are thankful for the things you've done during your life to make it possible for all of us.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Ruby.